Welcome to the Amateur's Advantage. I'm Laura Ashley, a Grand Prix dressage trainer and gold medalist rider, here to share the tools and principles that help riders and horses work in harmony no matter your discipline. Each week, I sit down with amateur riders, pro trainers, and equestrian professionals from every corner of the horse world to talk about the real stuff. Training struggles, mindset shifts, breakthroughs in the saddle, and how classical dressage can make us all better horsemen and women. Think of this as your tack room talk, your post-lesson debrief, and your barn family between rides. Let's get into it. We are here again for another Laura Ashley Dressage podcast, and we are with Amanda today.
I run Orlando Sport Horses out of Waxahachie, Florida.
Fantastic. So Amanda was working with one of my clients' horses doing the jumping side of things. I was doing dressage training, and you're doing the baby beginner basic jumping for him.
Giving him some dynamic workouts to his week. It was more of a for fun thing for the horse, but he's really excelling in it.
He's doing great at it. But the dressage, he's just such like a 5th grade boy, and he like needs his recess time. In order for him to focus in school, and like dressage is school for him. And sometimes when he's hacking down, he's like, oh man, you gotta do my dressage. Like, oh gosh, buddy, I love you so much, but you have to come to class today. So why can't I do recess first?
Yeah, doing his jumping rides is more like sports for him.
Yeah.
It's like his extracurricular activity.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's really important for him because it kind of helps him understand that it's not always going to be the same thing in the ring, and sometimes it's fun and you can focus on something else besides how you feel. You can focus on the sticks in front of you, which I think is great.
And I always find that after he has his extracurricular days, whether it be a good trail ride or a jumping day with you, he's better at his dressage.
Oh yeah. So all of that ties in.
Instead of being like, you are a dressage horse and this is what you will do with your life and figure it out, we're like, yeah, bud, if that's what you want to do, if that makes you feel better, I'm all for it.
Yep.
And so it was through you working with that client horse and me seeing how much more happy he was when he was well-rounded, the way that you described his personality to his groom, and then she would report back to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this other trainer sounds exactly like me. No wonder this is working so well, because the same way that I talk through my rides and explain their personality is the same way that you do it. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
So then I had a horse, and I kind of hit a wall. And it wasn't that I couldn't do more. It was just like, why? Why am I struggling when I could just ask for help? Because, like, I'm mom, and it was personal horse. And so with your own child, sometimes you act a little different than when it's somebody else's horse.
Right.
And I realized that I was being a mother instead of a trainer, and that I was in my head on my own timeline and my own vision on how I expected things to go. Mm-hmm. And she said, no, your timeline does not matter to me.
Right.
And your goals don't really matter to me. And she says, this is what I need to be a happy, well-rounded horse. Or I could ask somebody else to do them for me.
Right. And, it's hard as well to, like you said, remove yourself from that sort of way of thinking with a horse that is your own horse. Because mm-hmm. I think being a professional trainer and also owning your own horse, there is a larger degree of pressure there, because we look at our horses and we think, this is my canvas and this is my horse, and I'm going to make you all of what I know. And especially with one that is maybe not seeing eye to eye with you all the time, that can be very challenging and frustrating. And so I also think it takes a village to make a real horse, and one person cannot do it alone. Obviously, we need vets, we need farriers, we need managers, we need grooms, we need everybody involved. And sometimes it comes down to needing someone to do a little bit more of the behind the scenes work, so that you can go center stage and have the whole horse that you know is in there. Like we were just talking about before, with adding a dynamic approach to the horse's workout routine throughout the week, I think it's so important to ensure that they are being enriched, not just trained. And sometimes horses, they love to be trained, but they, like people, will hit a wall. Just like if you go to the gym every day and you only are bodybuilding and weightlifting because you are going to go to a bodybuilding and weightlifting competition. Well, you might pull a tendon or become bored, and you might need to go do some yoga classes or take a walk outside or play a sport like tennis or baseball, something that engages your mind differently, and horses are no different. So when you have a horse that is hitting that wall in the gym, so to speak, it's really good to maybe venture out and find someone who can instruct your horse in a different way. And I think it's really respectful for trainers to pull on other trainers, because it's definitely an ego-driven sport in some ways. I hate to say it, but it's true, and we all know it's true. And so to put that aside and just say, okay, this isn't working, like, you put your horse first in that situation. You didn't try to push past something that wasn't translating between the two of you. You brought in someone who could enhance what you were already doing. And so working with that horse has been incredibly rewarding, because for me, I come in as a fresh set of eyes and a fresh pair of hands, and the horse doesn't know me solely because my intention has nothing to do with yours, but my intentions will help your intentions. So I can take that horse and help he or she understand something they might not be understanding, but I do it in a way that helps them become softer in that situation. Maybe they're being spooky. Maybe they don't want to go forward. Maybe they're going too forward. Maybe they're shying away from a certain area in the arena, or really anything. It all dials down to the basic groundwork that you use to start a horse, and that is where my entire training program really stems from.
Yeah.
I just think it's important to dial it back down to basics and make it very black and white for the horse, and then you work up from there. And sometimes you go all the way back down to basics, and all of a sudden you are 10 steps ahead of where you were, and you can't believe it, because the horse hasn't forgotten anything you've taught them over the years. They've just needed a different perspective on it to have them understand in a different way.
Yeah, thinking outside the box really lets you go forward faster. And sometimes we get this tunnel vision on what our goals are. And so I was like, all right, if I'm going to get this horse better and make her more valuable, she has to flying change. Or maybe she could just be more relaxed in everything that she does and feel more confident in herself, and then she'll just happily be able to do a change, because it wasn't a physical limitation. But if she can learn in another space that she knows how to relax her own mind and body, then she can take that knowledge and transfer it to the dressage arena. That preconceived notion of, and I'm not sure about myself.
Right.
You kind of like detach it from the root of the training, and then you link them back together later on.
Horses can learn something in one spot and they can do it in another spot.
Yes.
It happens all the time. How else do you train a horse to do something in this arena and they go over there and do it in the show arena?
Right.
So I think that is a very undervalued and underrated and unknown thing between other people, that they don't see the importance of, well, if she can relax herself, well, I call it self-regulation, just like you teach a child to self-regulate. I see so much value in teaching a horse to self-regulate, to hold themselves, because they have the internal confidence to do it. Some horses are born like that. Some horses are just naturally confident and stoic and really quite unfazed. But a lot of them really need to learn how to do that, especially when their knee-jerk reaction is to become heightened.
Yes.
Which they're prey animals. Who can really fault them for that?
That's how they stayed alive in the wild.
That is their biogenetic makeup.
Yeah. Now, we've been keeping them safe for quite some time now.
Right.
So if they could figure out that
Right.
we've got it covered. You don't have to worry.
My favorite thing to mutter under my breath while I'm maybe riding one that's getting a little spooky or a little dicey. They used to ride these into battle. Come on, it's just a mailbox.
Right?
Get on with it.
Yeah.
But not every horse can just get on with it.
No.
And I personally break and train young horses, warm bloods specifically, and the first thing they have to learn is self-regulation. Because I know then I'm going to put my foot in that stirrup. They're going to be okay with life so that they can be okay with the directions I give them.
And the ridiculous part of all this is I totally agree with you, and I know all of this, and I do all of this with the horses that I get paid to train.
Right.
And like, I know better. I should do better. And my doing better in this scenario was outsourcing. Because you said something earlier about all of the team members that it takes to have a really wonderful horse.
Yes.
And I was simply missing a team member that I didn't realize would have so much benefit. So it wasn't even like, oh, I'm doing something wrong or my program's not working.
No.
It was, I want it to be 110% great around here. And if I can outsource and bring in just a different, not even a different way of seeing it, but just like, hey, we know this is important. Like, oh, right, the basics, got it, sorry.
Well,
and like, I'm always talking about the basics under saddle, but you're like, hey, basics on the ground.
Like, all the way down to basics. People, and most people are not working with horses who are unbroke or unstarted. So when you think back down to basics, you might be thinking more along the lines of walk, trot, canter. When I think down to basics, I'm like, this is a bridle and this is a saddle and I'm going to tighten the girth now. Don't explode.
Yeah.
You know, those are the basics for me because we're starting all the way back down to I'm putting the halter on. I'm putting a feel on this rope. You're putting your attention on me. They can't dial in and put their attention, and some horses internalize this so you don't notice until they've been saddled, bridled, warmed up. They're starting to school for the test. Here we go, and what is that in the corner? And you're like, there's nothing there. Absolutely there is, because they have been holding tension from possibly when they were a young horse. Not everyone gets to have hands on their horses from the day they drop on the ground out of their mother. So there's a lot of things that happen to that horse, and a lot of them hold on to things. And that tension that you talked about, they get tension in their body and they don't always know how to get it out of their body, and so it starts to manifest as bigger and bigger and voluminous, and then you have a horse with reactivity, explosions.
Yeah.
And that is the sort of thing that I like to use my groundwork for, to smooth out. So when you are riding and you feel your horse go, it's only, should I? And they look to their rider and the rider says, no problem. And they say, okay. Or you have one where the rider becomes tense, because that's very popular. It happens, right? You see a plastic bag waving in the, here it comes. And the horse goes, I sense no danger. And that's what everybody wants. So I think it's important to dial all the way back down to basics. And that is something that I was helping with your horse, was simple focus. And just because the horse is listening and responding, it doesn't always mean they're as dialed in as they could be. And for me, I like that horse really dialed in to where their back is soft and relaxed. They are under me, and I can feel their mind thinking about what I'm doing. Their concern is she okay? Is she asking me questions? What do I do next? I can do that part for you. I want the horse to return its mind to me, especially if something is going wrong. I want them to ask me what's going on, and that's a lot of trust, okay? It's also a lot of itemized work where you're in the round pen with that horse for maybe an hour. It's not running, it's not pushing all the time, but it could just be the time spent. And not everyone, such as yourself, such a busy professional, you know, you have a lot of horses to get to. You might not have the time to be spending to do that with said horse, but in your mind you're saying, well, your goal is that next level, that next test, so of course, how are you going to get there unless you're strong enough? So, and that's what happens. And sometimes going all the way back down to that groundwork, to just spending time with that horse, to reassessing the trust is so valuable. And sometimes things transpire between a human and a horse and the connection becomes disrupted. And that is when calling in somebody else to soothe that horse, to talk to that horse, to understand that horse helps. And think about this, not every human connects to every human the way you think they should. It's the same with horses and riders. Just because you purchased that horse does not mean that is your soulmate. Listen, I'm going to bring the bad news. I'm going to be honest, okay? And it happens. And sometimes you look at Fluffy and you really think this is the one. And you get down the road and there is trauma and gaslighting between you and that horse. And you have been through it. I've given you everything. You eat because of me.
Nope.
I am the first one to be reminding my horses that I'm the one with the thumbs.
I have one horse, though, that unlocks her own stall door.
The point is, all joking aside, is that, when you do find that disconnect in your relationship, you want to outsource and get someone in to help the relationship become stronger, which is something that I do also specialize in. I do the work with the horse. And then my goal ultimately is not for me to have a relationship with that horse, but to bring that horse into a better headspace to then have a relationship with the person they're supposed to have a relationship with. That's the goal. That's what I want to do. I want to take horses and people and I want them to have a really good bond the way I know that horses and humans can bond.
Yeah.
But like I said, not everyone is going to be your best friend. And you're going to encounter horses that should be your work acquaintance. And that's all. And other horses that you're going to feel so passionately connected to, and that might not even be a horse that you personally own or even spend that much time with. But it's just important to accept everyone has flaws, horses and humans alike.
It was interesting for me on day one, the horse was like, okay. And your energy right now is up because you're talking. I'm
excited.
Horse training.
I'm on TV.
But when you're actually training, you're like, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Guess we'll stand here in the rain for a while. And like, you get so flat that they're like, she can't get shook. She's still here. I'm having a moment. She doesn't care about my moment.
I will just stare at them. And I turn around and I'm like, all right, well, I don't have anywhere to be today.
And that's really the problem that I have is I'm so thankful. I have a very full business now. And I am on a 45-minute time schedule. And when I started my business, I would do 1.5-hour blocks.
Yes.
For whatever, I wouldn't ride them an hour and a half, but miscellaneous things would pop up. And I'd be like, I've got extra time I can play with. I would love the luxury to play with my horses more than I do.
Right.
And unfortunately, as a professional, I've lost that. And that's really what happened with this particular horse is all my others were my babies first. And then I became a professional and they already had their basics and they had those days of me like sitting in the corner of their stall reading a book, having my lunch, doing nothing, sending texts. And I just fussed with them constantly.
Right.
I hate to admit it, but I don't even get to brush my own horses anymore. It is a rare treat. That is the horsemanship part of it.
Right.
And so, like, you learn so much from grooming and tacking up your own horse.
Yes.
And I believe in this.
Yes.
But in order to run my business in the way that it needs to be run and train as many horses as people want me to train, yay, I have to delegate that out.
Yes.
So I'm really picky about how my staff handles my horses.
Yeah.
There's, not the stereotype, but the hunter jumper industry works very fast.
We do.
And
yes.
the barns are full and the clients are busy and the schedule is tight. And if those grooms aren't literally sprinting through the barn aisle, they're in trouble and possibly fired.
Yes.
And I've had some of those hunter jumper grooms that are top professionals come in my barn. But they're like leading the horse like this.
Yes, it's very fast. Everything
runs. That.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll scream from across the arena, if you need 30 minutes to lead that horse in from the field, do it.
It's okay.
Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, your day went too long today. I had to pay my staff extra hours. If that's what the horse needed, then that's what they needed. I wish I could do it myself. And in the summer, I'll take time to be like, this is how I want this to go.
Sure.
Or like a new horse comes in and I'll see it like rip its head out of the halter when they go to take it off. Right?
Oh, I cringe. You can ask anyone that's helped at my barn. I am the exact same way. Because they do respond to all of that.
Sets a tone.
It does set a tone to the horse. I do believe that the dressage horses are a little bit more sensitive than the hunter style horses. The jumpers are pretty sensitive too. The hunters are all sort of, I'm too tired to care. Just take me to my stall, right? So I think it's very important that you do pay attention to that sort of thing. However, some horses really want their person to be their only person. And I think that they struggle when they change hands, even if it is from groom to rider, if they're not receiving the right emotional support that they need, because I'm talking like highly sensitive horses that, they spooked at that like this, and now you get on and they're still a little spooked and they're still already a little, that is where the detail comes into the job. And if you can find people who are super detailed in that manner, like you said, ripping their heads out of the halters, take 2 seconds, ask the horse to lower its head, pet them. It makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Because a horse learns from application and correctly timed release of pressure. How else do you get them to perform, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the base of the dressage riding. And any riding, really, you squeeze the reins, you want them to flex. You add your leg, you want them to move. Whether it be laterally or forward, they should be responding. Now you take that way that they learn and you have someone handling them incorrectly, the horse becomes confused quickly. Your horses are all beautifully turned out and well handled, I can tell, because every time I walk in to your barn, they're napping. They nicker to me. I walk in, they're like, "Oh, human, will you feed us?" And they all have stuffed hay nets, so I'm like, none of you are starving. No one's missing a meal in that barn. But I think it's just a very good topic that you bring up, where
it's like that energy that you bring into a space.
Yes.
And I've seen some, God bless them, but the amateurs where they're like, okay, Fluffy, now stand, and I'm going to take down my stirrup because I'm going to climb up on this block now. And you're like, oh gosh, okay, breathe. Now let's move slowly and smoothly around the horse.
Yes.
Now let's pet them. And part of it is we need to idiot proof our horses to be like, I should be able to accidentally yank these stirrups down too hard and they flop on your side and you go, seriously, Mom?
Yes.
Not, oh, what was that?
Right.
And some of them are that sensitive and that's their being, and we have to respect that and work with that nature.
Sure.
But we can help to tell them, you lived the last time.
Right.
You're probably going to live this time.
Right.
But I'm careful about, I can't control what amateurs show up that need help, but I can control what professionals I let show up. And that they have that calm, happy, loving energy around my horses. It goes as far as the stall cleaning.
Right.
If you have somebody go in your horse's stall with a pitchfork and they're like, get out of my way.
Yeah.
And so if I find out that a horse was nuzzling you while you were picking up poop, I'm going to take a photo and smile. I'm not going to be like, hurry up, clean the stall faster.
Right. You want that happy, symbiotic relationship between the people and the horses. It's not all kittens and rainbows when you're training them.
Oh, no. If you're going to nibble on my shoulder and go, 1 bite, 2 bite,
right.
We're going to have a talk.
Right. But I do think that when you approach a horse, you have to remember 9 times out of 10, that horse is also watching you approach in a way that it is questioning, should I be worried or should I be okay with this? And horses that have had really good experiences their whole lives, they're brought up around professional programs, they've never missed a meal, they've always been gently handled. Those horses are the good ones. When they're 14, 15 years old, they're just, okay, here comes a person. Do you have a carrot? No. Bridle? Okay. They're a little more okay with life. It's the ones that you're not sure where they came from. And we found that one, or he kind of came to me through changing hands 15 times. Those ones, you don't really know what they've been through, just like other people that you meet. Yeah. And I think just approaching them in a way that you are projecting your energy onto that horse. Whether you want to or not, it's happening. Even if you are like, everything's fine, but internally something is bothering you, something is wrong, you received bad news, or you are really jacked up that day.
Do you have days where you just don't? Because I do. I'd say twice a year, I literally will get off mid-ride and be like, I am not suited right now to be training. Can someone please take this from me? I need to go in the house. I'm not okay.
It's okay to try tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's okay to try again tomorrow. I learned that a very hard way. It's okay to try again tomorrow. It's not okay to keep trying when it's not working, and then tomorrow might not come for you or the horse. Meaning you might get injured, or that horse might get injured, or you might set that horse back in its training because you're asking the same repetitive question. It's not translating.
Definition of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Just say, today's over. I think today's over. Yeah. I respect that because I don't think a lot of professional people like to admit that.
Yeah. It feels like defeat, but if it's going to set you up better to come in fresh tomorrow.
Sometimes I'll be riding a young horse and I start asking for something, and I can tell immediately if it's going to go in a good direction or that horse is going to start to maybe not want to follow the path of direction following that day. And that's okay. You just, okay, let's do something easy. Let's do something Yep. Let's keep you on a confident note and a happy note, and just...
They don't know what your ultimate plan was.
I have no idea.
They don't understand that. If you just did that darn flying change, I would have gotten off your back.
They were eating and pooping, and you put tack on them and told them to do fancy dance moves or jump colorful sticks. We're just over here basing our entire lives off of pretty farm animals, expecting them to do things that they would never really do on their own. I mean, sure, a horse will passage in the paddock when it's excited, and a horse will jump out of the paddock. But if you notice, in both those situations, the horse is not calm while that's happening.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
The horse is, oh, beautiful, look at him. He's lifting his knees to his chest. Well, his tail is probably also over his back, and his head is sky high. But he's finally doing those knees you always wanted. Or my horse jumped out of the paddock. They weren't eating grass and thought, I'm going to try the long approach now and pick up a canter and jump out in beautiful hunter form. They were probably running around and thought, I got to get out of here. So to train the horses in a way where they can stay in a rest and digest and happy.
Oh, I like that. Say that again. Rest and digest.
Rest and digest.
That's nice.
There's fight and flight, and there's rest and digest.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want your horse to be resting and digesting even when he's exercising. That is when you really start hitting your flow with that horse. It's staying in a calm state. Sure, things can get heightened if you're working on new things or it's very hot outside and we're really pumping the blood. However, thinking about that calm nature that the horse is truly when you look out to the pasture and he's grazing and everything is peaceful and beautiful, in my opinion, you can promote the horse to be calm in most situations, even when you are involved. So they can rest and digest and pee off and passage and jump a course, even if they're going fast.
I want them to go back to that flat spot. Like when I teach pee off, it's like 1, 2.
Okay.
That's it.
Take a break.
That's all I needed. They're like, that's it?
Right.
Yeah, literally. You picked up your toesies. Good job.
Right.
Cookie?
Right. Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
you make it a non-issue where they're like, that counted as exercise today? I'm suspicious.
Exactly. You make it a non-issue.
Yeah. And I think that that's your correct client base appreciates it, but the wrong client for you wouldn't respect that a lot of your session is standing still. Like,
I know.
Look, here's your pony with ridiculous things hanging on it.
Right.
Their ears are floppy. I'm like, that's the greatest thing.
Yes.
And somebody else might be like, but why didn't you like get to the stuff? I'm like, that is the stuff.
This is the stuff. It's very boring, actually.
Yeah.
To watch. I mean, if you know what you're looking at, it could be interesting because you're watching foot movement and that sort of thing. But for me, when I'm working the horses in the round pen, and my goal on a bottom line is really just to have them always looking to me for the next question, and I'm always waiting for them so that I can give them an answer. And it's not always the most perfect answer. And sometimes the answer is standing still, because maybe that horse is not good at that, but standing still in a rested state.
Yeah.
Standing still with your neck up and your back braced and staring off to East Texas, hoping that the tidal wave of cougars doesn't come over the hill.
Yeah.
Doesn't count.
No.
They need to be. They need
the
to
visual
be,
on that one,
yeah,
man.
I know it's coming.
All the cougars with tidal waves, of course, come from East Texas.
You know, whatever they're thinking in their head. And I think it's so important to just allow that horse to relax. Now, my entire training base is not always super calm. You can ask people who are riding with me. If a horse is sitting on your leg,
oh, you need to move.
and they're
Excuse
not answering the questions that I'm asking.
Where's the answer?
You
Hello.
know, yes, and I don't want to paint the notion that I'm out there with feathers, no tack all the time. Although that is an important element.
But you're not like, I wait for the horse to choose to participate. Did it want to be ridden today?
Not
now you will listen and be like, today's not the day.
Right.
But you're not like, well, they didn't want to wear their halter, so I guess I'll go home now.
No, I am persistent.
Yeah.
But sometimes the persistence is very quiet.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I'm just existing here. We will figure this out. The
Right.
eight's going to stay on you till you do the thing.
For example, I've had horses that are not great with trailers in the past. And these horses, either they don't want to get on, or they don't want to get off, or they get in and they freak out, or they won't go anywhere near the trailer. My training of asking the horse to release the pressure and self-soothe really comes in handy in situations like that, because again, if they're always looking to you for the next question and you're always looking to them for the answer, there can be a question and an answer really in any situation. And if they're afraid, sometimes your question, they will trust you enough to answer the question. And it does help a lot with that sort of situation.
You teach them how to have that thinking pattern in a space where they're comfortable, and then you take it to the space where they're not as secure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well said.
Yeah. And it starts so much before the getting onto the saddle is, I think, what this is coming to. And I always think about it when we get to the mounting block. If you have to hold it, that means I shouldn't be getting on it yet.
Yes.
I start young horses.
Right.
I do all of this preparatory work with the 3-year-olds. But sometimes it's tough when you have one that's old enough to know better, to remember that maybe they never learned the right way, or maybe something happened in between.
Or they just forgot.
Yeah, they have those days where they're like, what's that mean? You're like,
Yeah.
we talked about this yesterday,
Yeah.
man. And like with my training horses, I do go back to like, let's just learn our bodies again.
Right.
Let's find your own balance. We don't need gadgets. Here's what forward means. I shouldn't have to hold onto your face to make this work. I know better. But just having somebody else scold me appropriately and be like, yeah, so did you consider? I'm like, duh, of course I considered that. I just didn't do that because I got so fixated on what I wanted to have happen that I forgot how many other tools I also have.
Right.
And so by taking a step away, I'm able to come back then in a better headspace to this whole project. And honestly, it's nice being told as the student in this scenario, shut up and do what I say and just follow my directions.
Yes.
And stop micromanaging that horse so it learns how to think for itself a little, instead of, well, if I do this in this particular combination of ways and catch it exactly at that moment, I can prevent it from happening. Let's go back even a step further.
Right.
And that starts with the behavior on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with putting on the halter in the stall. It starts with, how do they react when I go to touch where the girth will be with
Right.
the brush?
Right.
And then it's, how do you lead out to the round pen? How do you respond to my body language in the round pen? How do you stand at that mounting block? Do
Yes.
you walk off right away? Can you just chill here while I answer this text message?
Right.
Good basic being a horse.
Yes.
Forget that you're a jumper.
Right.
Those goals are irrelevant if you can't just horse on a
Right.
basic level.
Yes, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
just be a horse.
Yeah.
Just, sometimes we get so driven on our path to be great, you know? Like, you're always wanting to go to the higher level of dressage. I'm always wanting to put the cups up another 2 holes. Sometimes it's very important to just dial back down and remember that your horse is just a horse. And, can you put that horse in a trailer and just take it somewhere and go, I don't know, ride around the park and relax? If the answer is no, well then maybe that horse needs some help in an area that you might not notice it needs help, or you do notice and you don't have time.
Yeah.
And
it's going to catch up to you.
It will
So
catch up.
whether it be when it's a Grand Prix horse and all of a sudden it's backing up instead of going forward after your piaffe work, okay, well, it eventually caught up to you.
Right.
Or if it's that you're trying to get from the warm-up to the show ring and you need a groom on the ground to lead you because...
it's balking.
And it's not that it's wrong to keep going in those scenarios, but if you can make the time in your schedule with your horse to slow down and break it down, you're going to come back to a happier, more well-rounded athlete.
Exactly. And it's a little more fair to the horse.
Yeah.
Where you break things down for them to understand a little clearer.
Yeah.
To me, it's a little bit more constructive.
Yeah.
Then the horse can accept what's happening. They can understand. They can move on.
Yeah.
You can work on something new.
We're ensuring a better future for these horses, that they know how to horse.
Right.
And if they get a mom in the future who's a little anxious or timid or unclear in their age, they go, it's all right. I know that stuff.
What you meant.
Yep.
Exactly.
And so
The
we
I
spend
got
that
you feeling.
we spend that time early on, and we fill in those gaps in their foundation so that then long term we have all the success that we want.
And
in
it's
and out of the show
also
ring.
okay to take an older horse and go back to do foundation work.
Yep.
Because perhaps it's been a very long time. Perhaps they didn't get exactly what they needed in those first steps.
Mm-hmm.
There's no harm in going and doing them over. It's the same thing of, if your horse knows how to tempi, that doesn't mean you don't practice your canter transitions. And so it's good to go back and practice your stretchy trot. That's the same thing as saying, we're going to go and we're going to not be afraid of our saddle pad.
Mm.
So the owners have decided to now gear them for jumping because they see some more promise in that, whether it be the mindset of the horse, the movement of the horse, whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
Okay, the horse gets in, I let him settle in, put him in the cross ties, I go to tack him up. He's afraid of his saddle pad. Oh, he always does that. It's okay. I'm not going to look over that, because to me, that's a piece of something that he's not okay with. So we need to make sure he's okay with everything I'm doing to him. That way when 12-year-old little Sally comes because her mom and dad are going to buy her a horse, I can confidently say, sure, why don't you saddle him up if you want to?
Yeah.
And it's a safety thing as well. Not only fair to the horse, but it is also a safety factor for people involved in that horse. That horse is not going to make a bad decision just because it felt like it.
Yeah, we can't just put Band-Aids on our training. We have to actually fill in those gaps,
right.
Let everything heal from the inside out.
Well, that horse can learn to be more useful before they go down the path of when you send them to a new home and you want that horse to be set up for complete success. You don't want to get a phone call that something bad happened, or personally lay awake and wonder, I hope he's okay. I hope they knew how to handle him.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't have to be the case if you teach them to be a little more well-rounded. Yeah. You can say, hey, he's probably fine. They didn't ride him for a week. They decided that was a good day to ride, you know? Yeah. You can be, oh, he'll be fine. And not every horse can be like that, but you can help horses to be more okay in situations so that they're more useful and therefore being fed and not neglected because, you know, he bucked off
You set them up to be viewed as a good horse for the rest of their life.
Yes.
So that they're loved and appreciated.
Because, I mean, horses are incredible. That's why we're here.
But when they start having behavioral stuff, they become back burner and they get less attention and less love and end up in bad hands. So
or they become they're not reaching their potential.
Yeah.
They can be scary. People get scared. They love their horses so much, but they won't put their foot in the stirrup because they know what could go wrong. Some horses that I've worked with are tremendously loved, not very useful because they didn't really get a good foundation.
Yeah.
So I think that it's important to help every horse have a good foundation and to, you know, treat them all as individuals and help them be better at being themselves.
Yeah. So it seems like going back to some of those foundational pieces, not even just the foundation of riding, but the foundation on the ground and a good basic horsemanship for how you connect and react with your horse, how they handle doing life. Right. Is really what we give our horses so that they can be more successful in and out of the show ring.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great chatting with you.
Likewise.
I feel like we both think the same, and so it's like, that. You're like, oh my gosh,
exactly.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm like, thank you, finally, someone who's understanding this.
Well, I hope you guys all understand it too, and this helps put you on a better path for your horse. Thanks so much for joining us today. That's it for this episode of The Amateur's Advantage. If you found something helpful, share it with a barn friend, subscribe wherever you listen, and leave a review. It helps more riders to discover the show and join our equestrian community. Don't forget to follow Laura Ashley Dressage on Instagram and other social media channels for more tips, behind-the-scene content, and updates on future episodes. Join us next week as we continue to unpack real-life training challenges, mindset shifts, and how classical dressage principles can help solve problems for riders and horses of all disciplines.